Manchester City thrashing Watford by 4-0. Meanwhile, a very significant win for Aston Villa, beating Arsenal 1-0. Stevie, Nicol and Shaka Hislop with me to discuss those games. Stevie, for you, what stood out from those two? What would you like to talk about? What is the big discussion point?
To be honest with you, I think it has to be Aston Villa. The fact that Aston Villa got the opportunity to get a victory and get themselves out of the bottom three, I think was huge. And the fact that we could see Arsenal, having beaten Liverpool and Man City, we were talking about have they moved forward. And then after this game, you'd have to say no. So Aston Villa getting the 3 points under pressure, fantastic performance, should have won by more than the goal. And Arsenal, well, every time they lift us up, they kind of drop us from a great height, and they did it again in this game.
Isn't that a bit harsh, though, on Arsenal, Stevie? After all the jubilation, the excitement of beating Manchester City, getting through to the FA Cup final, there wasn't really much riding on this game. We saw Arteta make a few changes as well. To say that they're back to square one is a bit harsh, isn't it?
How? You've just got beaten by a side who...
Yeah, but a side who are scrapping or
can be relegated out of the Premier League, and you actually got well beaten. You had 70%. We sat here the other night and said, right, it's okay. It's one thing to beat a Liverpool side that were half asleep. It's another thing to defend for your lives for 90 minutes and do City on the break and win. And the real test is to go to a team who may this time next week be back in the Championship, and you can't get even close to breaking them down. Come on, Dan.
No shots on target for Arsenal in this game. Shaka, was this just a case of not upping their game for this match after what happened at the weekend? Or like Stevie says, did we see a little bit more of the real Arsenal?
Well, I think a little bit of both. Listen, Arsenal aren't going to finish in the European places. I think that much we know. And now their season and rides on the FA Cup. So you understand where if a lot of the players weren't up for this one. But for me, from an Arsenal perspective, as much as Arteta's made change, if you're Nketiah, if you're Shaka coming in, you want to be a part of a team and stake a claim to play from the start in the FA Cup final. Now, I think those changes have kind of signaled that Arteta has to go with the team that beat Manchester City, and those players, even though they may have figured more prominently in recent games, surely can't start come the FA Cup final because they were just that disappointing. It was that much of a letdown.
So no empathy for Arsenal at all, Steve. You say it's difficult for players to motivate themselves when there's nothing at stake. There wasn't anything at stake today, as opposed to Aston Villa, where everything was at stake.
When Shaka was talking there, something came to my mind. I remember we played Tottenham Hotspur at Anfield in the last game of the season in the 80s. There was nothing for us to play for, and they were in the cup final. And I remember, it was a midfield player. I can't remember his name. I can see him. I can see his face right now. And he was running around at 1,000 miles an hour. And I just said to him, I said, look, hey, calm down. I said, you've got a cup final next week. Save your legs and said, and then make it easier for all of us. And he says, I'm not quite sure I'm playing next week. He says, so I'm going to be running at 1,000 miles an hour for the rest of the game. Now, that's exactly what came to my mind. That's exactly what should be in the mind of Arsenal's players. And the fact that he's made a lot of changes tells you that there must be at least 4 or 5 players who aren't quite sure whether they're going to play in the FA Cup final. So they should be trying to bust a gut. And I think they were trying. I just don't think they were that good.
Meanwhile, Manchester City with a 4-0 victory over Watford. Watford's, of course, sacking Nigel Pearson ahead of this game, and that 4-0 deficit really drags them down into this relegation scrap. It is going to be a fascinating final day of the season. Bournemouth look all but doomed because Bournemouth need to win and hope that both Aston Villa and Watford lose. Meanwhile, it's going to be a head-to-head between West Ham and Aston Villa and Watford as to who is going to make it into the Premier League, who is going to survive. For Watford, Stevie, this was obviously not the plan.
No, they were clearly looking to get a lift from a new face in the dugout, But the problem for Watford is it's nothing to do with getting a lift or a new face or a new voice. They can't defend to save their lives, and that's what they're going to have to do next week. And they're not capable of doing it. I just don't see how they win a game. They don't look like they're going to score goals, and they're leaking goals for fun. So, all in all, regardless of what Villa do, I just don't see how they get any points from the last game.
Aston Villa have to match Watford's result. For Watford, they need to catch up with a one more goal difference. So, for example, if Villa win 1-0, they have to win 3-0, sorry, Shaq. So looking at this, who have you got?
Right now, I think Villa are in the better position. If you're Watford, you're thinking letting Nigel Pearson go. Listen, whatever was going to happen against City, I don't think you catered to taking any points there. But the 4-goal swing is huge when goal difference quite clearly is going to play a part. Watford's story to the end of this season has been Watford's story for the last few years. Too many managerial changes, too much disruption, no flow to it. Nigel Pearson at least has experience in relegation fights. Remember Leicester a couple of seasons ago. I thought you keep him on at least to see this through. They've now got a tough game against Arsenal. Saying that, what we saw against Arsenal today against Villa, you feel a little bit buoyed by that. But given the fact that West Ham, though mathematically unsafe, it'll take a 14-goal swing, you don't see that happening. West Ham, you could understand if they just kind of let their hair down the last game of the season. As a result, if you had to choose between the two, Arsenal and West Ham, despite how poor Arsenal were today, you still take West Ham. That's who Villa have.
For City, we saw Caicedo play on the left. Stevie, is that going to be an option going forward? It's something that we've discussed about somewhere that Manchester City need to reinforce over the summer.
I think down that left-hand side, it's just a toss of a coin. You know, whether it's Zinchenko, Mendy or Cancela. They've all got their pluses, but unfortunately, they've all got the same fault. They can't defend. So it didn't make any difference today. As I said, you know, it's get your darts out, 3 names on the board, and shut your eyes and see which one it hits on.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.